Okay, so we started today talking about, and I did start the recording, um, the modules. Just gonna go kind of review this now that it's being recorded. I'm not sure if the first one really worked. So here we're talking about Gothic, Renaissance, Baroque, and Rococo. We have assignment 7, which is a series of 10 questions on those styles. Just the highlights of it, and then assignment 8, which is the PowerPoint that's shared. Maybe I'll change this to questions, and this one here, instead of it being hand drawings, we are all at our computers. Shared PowerPoint. So what we're doing now is I started the presentation to talk about Gothic. In case the recording didn't work, these first 4 slides talked about the things that came out of Gothic architecture. And then we started to work on, I think I have two of them open. Oops. Each person took this one slide and created a new slide and put their name on it, and then went and did a search for at least 1 or 2, whatever you can get in there, a slide of Gothic architecture. So this is going to give us a lot of really great examples of Gothic architecture from you guys to share with other people. Okay. And that's our assignment 8. Something a little different, keep you in and engaged in the topic as we move forward. All right, so I'm just gonna do a really quick, oh, am I sharing my screen? Yes, good. I'm just gonna really go quick through these. If you're not done with it, it's okay. We've got some beautiful cathedrals here. I love some of these pictures of the flying buttresses and this kind of lacy open wall system, unlike the Romanesque for sure. It's brings in a lot more light and becomes kind of lacy and I think more beautiful in a way. Especially I like this one here. All of these pilasters or columns that are within columns. Flying buttresses here from the main building, and then 2 smaller buildings off to the side. The pointed arches, also good, very good examples of Gothic architecture. Nice, good job, guys. Really, really great. All right, so trying something different here. I'm going to go back to talk about the Renaissance architecture. And really, Renaissance architecture was great for us because there were a lot of attempts to paint perspective, and you can see where, just like the Egyptians, like the heads were straight and the arms were straight, but nothing really in 3D. And even these attempts for those paintings were not exact, right? You've got the straight elevation here with some perspective, and it goes back to the same idea of visually seeing those columns at the Greek, when we looked at the Greek builders. So we see people like Brunelleschi who start to talk about it and use it in his architecture. The invention of linear perspective is attributed to Brunelleschi when he started to look at mathematical perspective and define the rules of proportion and symmetry. So I think this is really interesting when he drilled a small hole in this mirror and then stood directly in front of the building. By moving the mirror in and out, he could show that, we did have this kind of 3D vision. And so uh, himself, though, didn't do any really big writings. He was more of an architect and not so much an author. But you'll see later on that people write about his discoveries. But what he's known for here is this Basilica of Saint Mary of the Flower, is this cathedral church in Florence, Italy. Uh, it, it's one of the largest churches and was the largest in the world. It remains to be the largest brick dome ever constructed. And the uniqueness about this dome is that it has these multiple layers. So the dome contains 4 million bricks, and the structure rests on a drum, not on the roof itself. This allows the dome to be built without the need for scaffolding from the ground. Base of the dome is tensioned by horizontal chains of iron and wood. Um, The elders of Florence had forbidden the use of external buttresses, and this was a part of the architect's solution to the problem. But you see how it's kind of like a double dome? It's got two layers within it. Ryan had a really great kind of modern version of that, which I thought was pretty impressive. As we look back at the kind of theory of it, you could actually walk between the two here. Um, and it became kind of this really great um, structural dome that could hold all of that weight in the 4 million bricks. And so it's pretty beautiful. There it is right there. You can see all the proportion of the different windows. And so the book that was written about all of this talk during the Renaissance Festival. I almost said Renaissance Festival, Renaissance period. Uh, the first published book about perspective was by Alberti, who is more of an artist and more of a writer. He described how the artist could get a correct view of a scene by observing it through this window by tracing the outline of the object on the glass. So looking at these diagrams, you'll see the first kind of sketches of perspective. But he kind of, he got that idea from Brunelleschi, but was actually the author of it, which it kind of makes sense because not everyone is a writer. He'd solved the problem by using rays of light in similar triangles and calculating the height of the distant objects. So he was more of a writer, but he did uh, not only publish, but he had smaller pieces of architecture that he worked with, like different facades like these type of buildings here, where it's symmetrical and it's proportional. And you could take this facade and sketch on it and really find all of the different proportions. If somebody could maybe check on that, the Alberti's proportions of this facade, you can see that he did that in this book a little bit more. Let me just say here. I have this book. Uh, I think it's in my office, actually. It has several sketches of really great columns um and this kind of proportion of all the different grids that come out of this elevation here. So this is about Alberti in his documentation of symmetry and perspective and different forms of, especially columns. He went back and documented some of the classical orders as well. So here's some pictures of his documentation on perspective drawings. They are now becoming more of in the architect's world, right? So the architects are becoming more perspective. We're looking at perspective, and we're drawing more. And during the Renaissance style, looking at these things, and during that time, we see that inspired by the writings of another author, Vitruvius. So we see these designs that are coming out of early times as well. So Vitruvius created a book during the first century, like BC 80 to 80, 80. See, I think I have this, something was missing here. Yeah, 80 to 15, that's right, because it goes like up in time. Um, and so Leonardo da Vinci kind of was inspired by this book that Vitruvius created. Vitruvius was an architect and engineer here. So Leonardo made this book, this drawing called the Vitruvian Man. And I think you've seen it before. It has been used on a lot of different documents, and it's this kind of figure of a man holding his arms out, and it's all proportional around this circle, but it's also using this nude man in a circle and a square to look at how our bodies are proportionate as well. So it combines art and science. Well, this is during the Renaissance time period. So the book was starting to talk about this proportion, stability, utility, and beauty. And Leonardo was inspired by it. And so this is something I want to read from there. The navel is naturally placed in the center of the human body, and in a man lying with his face upward and his hands and feet extended from the navel to the center, a circle is described. It will touch his fingers and toes. You see how the triangles and the circles and the squares are in here? So geometry is related to the human body. It's not alone by the circle that the human body is thus circumscribed as may be seen by placing it within a square, or measuring from the feet to the crown of the head and then across the arms fully extended. We find the latter measure equal in to former. So proportion being symmetry. So that lines at right angles to each other enclosing the figure will form the square. So it's pretty interesting because I've used this a lot of times. All of these different proportions of the human figure as they relate to architecture and geometry. My favorite of all of these is when you put your hand straight out, the distance between your nose and the tip of your finger is 3 feet. That's, I mean, if you measure it, I know a lot of students, I used to have like give out little tape measures in the design one class. If you measure from your nose to the tip of your finger, it should be 3 feet. A palm is the width of 4 fingers, and the width of 4 fingers are 3 inches. So the width of 4 fingers is 3 inches. This whole list of things that relate to um, architecture and geometry as it is described by the human figure. And it was all brought to us from Leonardo da Vinci in that painting. I think it's still in Italy right now. I think I read that somewhere. And it was inspired by the writings of Vitruvius. So that's where how it came around. So a lot came out of the Renaissance time period for us. If you could go ahead and go back over to your drawing here, and let's work on the Renaissance um, time period. I know that you'll find other things. I mean, you could put the dome in there as well, but other other buildings that were inspired by this perspective drawing. And I've had assignments where we actually draw a perspective drawing, but I wanted to change it up a little bit this time. So why don't you take a minute to work with that? And I think I'm going to take a look. I think I can pause the video.
Number 8 on the assignment 7, is there supposed to be a picture there that we're supposed to be referencing?
Yeah. I mean, we have a picture.
We have the 2 for 6 and 7, but not one for 8.
I did have one originally, but I took it out. I could get the one page, but
Flying buttresses.
yeah, thank you for telling everybody the answer, but yes, you're right. No, right. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, number 8 could have more description because I did have a drawing on there, but they're structural exterior supports, and those are the flying buttresses. So I have a different document here that I've used in the past, and I just wanted to pull out a couple of things that I maybe didn't say, like this span of the dome is 140 feet, which exceeds the St. Paul's in London and St. Peter's in Rome. So, and even outdoes the Capitol in Washington, D.C., making it the largest dome ever constructed using bricks and mortar. I talked a little bit about Alberti and him being kind of, well, he's coined as being an architect, but he did do a lot. I mean, one of his many things, painter, sculptor, musician, but he is well known for his writings as well. And this is where Alberti did write this really great 10 books of architecture. I have that in my office as well. Probably should pull that out. And in that, he documents these 5 classical borders along with the perspective drawing and other architectural details. Yeah, so this is the facade I was talking to you about. Alberti emphasized the intellectual requirements for the practice of architecture through which a craftsman could promote himself to architect. So this is where we really start to see that in the past, we had a lot of craftsmen, sculptors, builders, and now we're kind of like being defined as pulling all that into an architect. And this is talking about the proportions of the facade. Okay, so I talked about Leonardo da Vinci's. Leonardo da Vinci was quite an engineer also. A lot of sketches, I think I included in the PowerPoint. Pointed arches and an article here. Maybe I'll post this article. Gothic glow. This is one of the best articles that I've seen on the Gothic style. This is an example of it. Light was scarce commodity in churches built in the Romanesque style. Romanesque churches had heavy barrel vaulted ceilings, like the roof of a tunnel, which um, where the walls were, thick and few windows. So now we see the Gothic opening that up to the pointed arches, the lighter construction, the slender columns, the ribbed vaults. And look at those flying buttresses as well. They're really beautiful. Allowing for the massive stained glass designs. 1144 marked the birth of Gothic architecture. Some of the pictures in this article that I thought was one of the best. You'll find it when you're doing the research as well. Okay. So how are your Gothic, not Gothic, Renaissance pictures coming along? Pretty good? Finding some things? I know it's okay if you're not quite done with it and you're working on it, but I do love that you're finding those examples of different beautiful facades that are proportionate and symmetrical. Some like perspective drawing and views that come from it as well. Good. Good. Awesome. Yeah, I like this one. This is a good example of it, this temple. Geometry. Renaissance architecture incorporated geometry and many building plans were symmetrical. All right. So love it. I think I really like that you guys are actively going in and finding these, and maybe you connect with it a little bit better than just a pure lecture as well. Good examples. Yeah, nice. Yeah. All right, so Baroque. I have one slide. I know I have more. I have more of a presentation, but I'm gonna rely on you guys to add to it. Baroque and Rococo. So these two styles, really added a lot of decorative detailing. You can see the laciness of it, all of this. So you're borrowing some of the forms of what's been done in the past, but we're adding to it all of this beautiful sculpture and decorative detailing to the Baroque and Rococo. And I think I pulled out a really nice saying about it being decorative and beautiful. But you can read here some of the detailing here, including marble and stucco, domes and oval and plan, light and shadow. But mostly, if you look at all the drawings, you'll see a lot of added ornamentation. Rococo was a style that grew out of Baroque, that became more playful, light and airy. You'll see it's almost like a building with added sculpture. When you look at the images, you can see that we didn't see all of this decorative detailing and kind of added ornamentation on the buildings before this time. They were kind of more clean lined without the paintings and sculpture. So this is like kind of a transition to it. And then if you look at Rococo, it's even more lacy, added sculpture to the interiors and the exteriors, but a lot of the interiors have these kind of like paintings and lacy sculpture like that. That's Rococo for sure. And so we've gone all the way from these kind of simplistic forms without decoration to, you know, perspective drawing and space and human body and how it relates to architecture and form to more of a decorative architecture like the Baroque and the Rococo. And you know, this happens throughout all of the years as well. You'll see that the Industrial Revolution and the whole machine age brought us back to this modern architecture that was very clean and precise with no ornamentation. And then this other wave that comes in later that that kind of adds to that and becomes another style. See what I mean? Right? So then, but then at some point we we say enough with all of this ornamentation, let's go back to something that's more simplistic. And we see these styles that are forming over the years that are really interesting to see how we've changed, like we changed and our artwork changes. It's kind of like a lot of things through time, isn't it? I mean, do you guys remember? Well, maybe you don't, but some things like men's hair. I know I'm going off topic here a little bit, but there was a time when most men had short hair, and then it evolved into really long hair. And if you didn't wear long hair in like the 80s, you know, you were not a part of that, you know, that trend. And then back to short hair. And um and now a mix of everything, whatever goes, but it's the same with like clothes as well. We had bell bottoms, right? Bell bottom jeans, and now we went away from those and went to kind of a shorter cut, and now we're back to, they're called flares. So there's just like a different name for them, a little bit different. But I think that architecture does that same thing as you look at all of these styles and things that come out of it. If you look at the bigger picture, the whole timeline, we do see this kind of flow of streamline new styles of elements and then plastered decorative decoration and then back to simplistic forms of machine as we follow what's happening in the world as well. Like the Industrial Revolution we're going to start talking about next week is an introduction, really brought us right back to clean lines and no ornamentation at all. So we're gonna take a look at all these different styles and kind of learn from them. And I like where we're at now. We're at a point where anything goes. People are designing sculptural forms, and others are designing, modern, clean, slim line architecture. So we don't have any set style that everyone uses. That's what kind of exciting about that, right? Is there was a time when everyone did that form and that was it, or maybe two or three. And then over the years, and especially now, we see this kind of explosion of all the different styles. And so I think that this is beautiful. I do. I mean, I but I think that what we saw here was just kind of added decoration, ornamentation, um, and art to the architecture. Okay, so how are we doing over here? Anyone want to add to that in your research as you're looking at Baroque and Rococo? Um, I love, Lisa, that you're putting this little bit of, you know, little text with it that says what's going on, the painted ceilings and the curved lines, the oval windows. Yeah, nice, nice, nice. All right, wow, some really nice pictures coming out of here. I visited a few of these when I lived in Paris. And really a really great form of artwork. Look, see, like this great example of of taking the basic forms that we've learned from the past and adding this beautiful sculpture, kind of like cloth made out of made into sculpture. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's added decoration. I like the oval, right? The oval shape really does make a stand in this style. All right, good. And how about Rococo? A lot of gold. Circle, the ovals, the added decoration. This is a really good example of Rococo for sure. Yeah. You guys find some good. It looks like you found some really good paintings of it. Nice. Okay, well, good. Oh, this one for sure. This one right here. I have to make this one a little bigger. All right, I'm gonna change this. These two examples right here are pretty amazing and really depict the interiors of this Baroque turned into Rococo. Really, you almost went like, whoa. If you So good. All right, well, those are the four styles. Let's take a look at our questions here. And the questions that came from the um there are only 10 questions here, guys. I did print them out if you want to just hand those in as we forward. I know that I have your work here. Let's see, here it is. Well, okay, it's over here. That's fine. I think that through our there we go. All right. So let's take a look at these questions. There's only 10 of them. So what do you think? We talked about these. They're kind of, if you were paying attention at all, you probably are good with the answers for these. What do you think of number one?
Oh, well, I put C, but
Yeah.
I was still working on the PowerPoint. And when you closed it out, it says can't be edited, it's gotta be reopened. It's in read only apparently.
I think I closed it. So can someone go in and see if they can move their slides around and I didn't close it.
Oh, I just had to, I just had to refresh my screen.
Okay, okay, so guys, I'm really happy that this happened because I want you to feel like you can refresh your screen. Refresh your screen and that, you know, the link for all of us to work together, is that fun? I don't know, I just, I've had a lot of really great fun projects where we all go into the same file. We all do something, you know, to put something together. And I think that instead of listening to a lecture for the entire time, you know, going in and researching and kind of pulling out and focusing in on those styles, I think works pretty well. So yes, number one would be Brunelleschi, and I have heard it pronounced that way in different videos, but did you hear of a different way that it's pronounced? Okay. Because all of these topics have really great documented videos that you can listen to. Okay, what do you think about the 4 features of Gothic architecture? Well, what's one?
Lightweight,
Okay, so that could be another one. That is one. I will accept that lightweight, light skeletal look.
skeleton forms.
Yeah,
vehicle,
What's
teeth.
another one, guys? Somebody else.
Vaulting,
The
arches.
the one more would be the groin vaulting. So like that's good. The vaulting, the groin vaults, which is like the ceiling that has those ribs. Actually, ribbed vaulting with the groin vaulting is good. Answer any of that. What are 2 more? What, anyone else?
Large windows.
You know what? The large stained glass windows is definitely one. The large openings to bring in more light for sure. And then one more big structural thing,
Buttress.
flying buttresses. The flying buttresses came out of that time too. So there are a lot of accepted answers for that, but I'm looking at like pointed arches, flying buttresses, stained glass design, which also goes with that. Then the groin ribbed vaulting. So if you said groin fold, if you said rib folding, if you said, you know, lighter wall, open windows, yeah, those all work. Okay. So I added these 2 photos so you can really see the difference. So what is number 6? Gothic for sure. Number 6 is Gothic because it has the groin vaults and the windows. And then number 7 is that Romanesque, Romanesque or early Romanesque. So number 7 is Romanesque, but I put it in there, although we're not talking about Romanesque. It's from the past and it kind of compares. Look at, I wanted to put the two next to each other to really see the massive walls and the ceiling and everything else that's different. We do have number 8, which I did have a picture in there, but I took the picture out. But when we talk about those external arches that are absorbing that thrust and those forces down to the ground, we're working with what? The flying buttresses. So that's one of the 4 things that were said came out of that. And then, who created that drawing of Vitruvian Man?
Leonardo da Vinci.
Leonardo da Vinci. Yes, Da Vinci. And there's a whole story behind that with the proportions of human scale with architecture. Um, right. And then there are several books that were starting to publish about architecture and space and perspective, but Brunelleschi was the first architect to kind of talk about it. And it's only documented in a biography that someone else made of his work. But it was really the first book to have this perspective drawing concept was published by who? Alberti, yes, Alberti. He definitely brought to us this documentation of what was going on at that time. And we see that a lot even now, architects doing and other people, critics and also publishers writing about it. So good, you guys got it. You got the 10 questions done. Awesome. You're working on um, this assignment 8, which is about bringing in photos and kind of collectively working on it. I would recommend that you take a minute to take a look at some of these because even though you had, one slide that you're working with, you can really get a sense of those styles through all of the photos and things that other students have posted. Awesome. So next week, we're going to go through a time period that I really enjoyed because it opened up a lot of more structural engineering for architects with the Industrial Revolution and the inventions of steel and, moving forward with that concept and just this huge openness of all these different styles. We're not limited to just a few that are here and there. So yeah, next week is going to be more exciting for me, but I like this week too. I mean, I think that all of these styles, you'll find out that you guys have different styles that you're kind of drawn to more. And towards the end of the semester, I'm going to ask you to kind of select one that not now because we're not there yet, but one that kind of you're inspired by or that you think is important or that you just like. Yeah. And also we're going to be taking a look at architects. We'll take a look at architects throughout time. I kind of took out a lot of the too much emphasis on the architects here so that we can concentrate on the architects that made a difference through time as we move closer to our time. Okay. All right, good job, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording and then anyone want to add to any of that?